Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody out in Radio Land. You're listening to WKFG, The Fog. No, I'm just kidding. It's the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we're at episode 96. We are closing in on the big 100. And
that's right.
You know, if you remember our episode 50, how big that was, well, this one is going to be 50 more than that. No, seriously, we got a lot of cool stuff planned. One of the things we did, which I won't, I'll just tease as something really, really epic that we will keep as a surprise as long as we can. We may start teasing it, but we'll have that for 100th episode. We have a couple of other ideas. There may be a sketch, maybe not. We have some big announcements. So if you're longtime Civil Gore listeners, all two of you, seriously, you need to no, just kidding. But yeah, long time will be very excited. They'll be rewarded for listening to the 99 previous real episodes and bonus episodes and mini-sodes. You will be rewarded with an epic 100 episode.
That's right. And to celebrate, starting with episode 100, we're just going to replay all of our old episodes in order starting from number 1.
Yes, exactly.
But we'll skip Manitou since we already redid
right,
that one.
We'll do it in the same order we did it the second time, where it'll appear. This time we'll break Tim's computer.
Yeah, and then we're going to see you guys in 3 years. So.
Yeah, but we'll keep every so often we'll check in with a new first chop or something. And no, okay, Cody, put down the drink. It's okay. We're just kidding. We'll give you new content.
Oh, that's funny. So what you drinking tonight, Brian?
I went back to one of my old time favorites. I just went to a nice Buffalo Trace bourbon straight. My whiskey cubes. So.
Nice. I am drinking a Pilot Mountain Pale Ale. This is from Foothills Brewing out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's kind of a nice little local brewery. They have some decent stuff. And Pilot Mountain is a very popular mountain state park up in northwestern North Carolina.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of cool to have a beer named after one of our state's landmarks.
Oh, nice.
So,
yeah,
so it's pretty good.
You need to actually, start putting some breweries on the list that you can take Julie and I to when we come down there for Kev's wedding. So. Oh
yeah, we got plenty local ones that are decent that you guys definitely want to check out. So yeah, we'll have a good list for you.
Yeah, and we hopefully we'll hit some of those good Halloween things that are in your area, since it'll be October, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, one of the coolest Halloween things, I don't know if I ever talked about it on the show, that they used to have a haunted, sort of like a haunted candlelight tour. So a big thing around here at Christmas time is the candlelight tour, because we have a big historic district. And the candlelight tour traditionally at Christmas is they decorate certain historic homes for Christmas, and then you get to walk through these homes that are just beautifully decorated. And it's called a candlelight tour because the pathways to all the homes are lit with the little, what do you call them? The little bags with the candles in them. There's a name for it.
Oh, like those lantern things? Or
lantern things. Yeah, I don't remember what you call them, but so they call it the candlelight tour. Well, one year they had a Halloween-themed candlelight tour. And so you could go tour these different historic houses that were supposedly haunted. And one that was really cool, I thought was a super cool idea, is when you walked in, they acted like you were attending a funeral. So the guy that met you at the door was like a funeral director guy.
Oh, cool.
He ushers in and he says, "Please come in, please be quiet. Everybody's gathering for the service." It was really creepy. So you go in there and you're sitting around this coffin with this dead little girl in it, which was very, very creepy.
Yeah, and probably disturbing a little bit.
Yeah, and then we're like all sitting here awkwardly in this living room, and everybody's dressed in old-fashioned clothes and stuff, and he's talking about the life of this girl that died and all this stuff. And then a picture falls off the wall, and then at some point, a girl dressed just like the girl in the coffin comes out of this side curtain, but she's got done up in makeup to look like a ghost. It was so freaky. Like it was a really, really cool production.
Do they still do that or no? They don't have that.
I don't know. It's been many years. I'm sure they do some kind of variation of it because they're always doing those kind of things around Halloween and stuff around here. So we'll definitely keep a close eye out when you guys come down to see what's going on.
Yeah, because Julia and I were actually talking. We're not sure how we're going to do it yet because, based on we want to put a couple of days around there. So we have, obviously we're thinking we're not sure if we're going to drive or fly in. Of course, there's benefits to both. If we drive in, then we already have the car there because I know, we'll need extra cars down that way. I mean, we'd rent one, I guess, anyway. But so we're trying to figure out so we can maximize the most time in there, because, obviously the wedding's going to take one of the main days. But we want some of that cool, like, battleship haunt thing you have and that cool, that laser tag thing. So
yeah, and it's just a cool town in general.
Yeah, we haven't really got to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you guys would really, really like it. I think Julie would really like it because it's very laid back. Very kind of cool, and it's got a lot of art.
Oh, she loves that.
Julie loves art.
She does
type stuff, and it's a very, very artsy, good art scene, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, she loves that. In fact, we just were at the. We're so off topic. It's hilarious here, but right off the bat, it shows how long it feels like we've been recording for so away from recording for so long. But we did the Frida Kahlo exhibit that they had at the Brooklyn Museum. So that was so she would be totally down for all that stuff. So that'll be cool. We'll have to discuss that. Now that you guys all heard our plans, we'll make sure we keep you posted in every step of the way when we plan
exactly.
this trip.
All right, so I guess we should get into it. This is our first chop. All right, Brian, so my 40 years of terror project continues. It seems like it's been forever since I've done this, but this time it was 1997, which is kind of a weird year for horror movies. Not a bad year, per se, but it had some stuff like Scream 2 came out that year, Event Horizon, which was terrific.
Yeah.
I Know What You Did Last Summer, Mimic, The Relic, Wishmaster, The Night Flyer, Cube. So some good Anaconda, the original Anaconda. So a lot of good stuff. It was kind of hard, actually, for me to find one that I had not seen because I must have watched a lot of horror movies that year, apparently. And I came up with one by one of our favorite horror individuals, Mick Garris.
Oh.
He did a made-for-TV movie called Quicksilver Highway. And this was based off a Clive Barker short story and a Stephen King short story. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the Clive Barker short story. I keep wanting to say Idle Hands, but I don't think that's it. It's something about hands. And then the Stephen King one was based off the short story Chattery Teeth, which I'd remembered reading. And what's very interesting about this movie is that it's an anthology, but there are only 2 stories. But it does have a wraparound, and the wraparound stars none other than Christopher Lloyd.
Really?
And
I said Christopher. I called him Christopher Walken in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
But no one called me out on it. I can't believe it. It was such a blatant, horrible mistake, and nobody caught it.
I'm pretty sure I've been pronouncing Damien Leone's name wrong for the past several episodes too, so I don't know what.
Well, I kept calling him Damien Leone. I added a little thing. It was the end of his name, but I've heard everyone else call him Leone, so I may be the one wrong, and everyone else is right. I think.
Oh, maybe we're just adding a little extra flair to it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Civil Gore unless we mispronounced your name.
Right, mispronounced your name.
You haven't made it.
Yeah, did a horrible imitation of you, get a fact wrong. Yeah, no, it's all part of our charm.
But in this movie, Christopher Lloyd kind of plays, I guess, your horror host, per se, because he keeps running into these people and then he tells them the story that then becomes the main anthology story. But Christopher Lloyd in this movie is dressed as a goth, red-haired goth guy. If you can imagine him as Uncle Fester in Addams Family,
okay,
but with red hair and a Hellraiser costume on, that's sort of what he looks like in this movie. So imagine like a Cenobite version of Christopher Lloyd with red hair.
Oh my God, what? That I can't even.
She's like, "You gotta come back to me to the millennium."
Yeah.
It's very strange and worth seeing just for that alone. But
so wait, are you trying to say there's a shared universe between this movie, Christopher and Hellraiser and Addams Family? Is that what you're trying to imply?
Possibly, possibly. I'm sure we could make it work.
Yeah.
But I actually enjoyed this one. You have Mick Garris. His movies are just, I think they're sort of like he is. They're just friendly, like good-natured, like just good, solid entertainment. Nothing more, nothing. I mean, they just seem like right down the middle of just good, solid mainstream entertainment. That's what this one was. It's not. It didn't blow me away, But I just found myself like really entertained by it. The first story about the Chattery Teeth, there's this guy that goes into this roadside store and he ends up picking up these oversized, those old mechanical wind-up teeth.
Oh, yeah.
That you see. These are like comically oversized big metal ones, and he ends up buying them. And of course, they don't work or anything. And then, without giving anything away, they come into play later on in a very vicious way. And the other story was about a surgeon whose one of his hands starts acting out on its own and seeking independence from his body.
Well, now I see why you thought idle hands.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, but it was sort of along that line of, guy losing control of his own hands. So, but they're both very entertaining, and Christopher Lloyd's fantastic as usual. So, I highly recommend that one if you could track it down. It's 1997 Quicksilver Highway. Again, a made-for-TV movie based on a Stephen King and a Clive Barker adaptation.
I want to say, it's funny. I kind of remember the title and the broadcast of it, but for some reason I do not remember that Christopher Lloyd redheaded Cenobite.
There's a chance, and I try to avoid movies I've already seen. There's a slight chance I did see this when it came out. I did not remember enough about it to even to even make a difference for this, so I don't feel too bad about watching it. But something about the hand story really seemed a little familiar to me, so I may have caught at least parts of this at some point.
But also,
back when it was
it's
released.
also like the hand too, a little bit. Even though it was he was an animator in that, I guess, but or Idle Hands. It's a story that's been told.
Right, even so that could be part of it too.
Yeah, and plus, remember Evil Dead too. So it's like there's a lot of like things that could have blended all together. May have, but yeah. Well, you never know. Well, so the next two things have actually been a kind of a victim of what's been going on with my computer. As you all know, the Manitou got to it at some point. But the good news is I found out today, as the day we're recording this, which is still late due to our other surprise project that we were working on the other day. It happened. So I found out that the computer's finally been repaired and it's on its way back to Best Buy, which I will not go into that whole drama because that's one time I'll have to go through it. I think once I get it back, because the way this has been going, there's probably going to be a way more levels to the story, so I'll save that.
That's a true horror story.
Yeah, it really is. With the things that have gone on with this thing, so I'm waiting so it's on its way back. Of course, they shipped it there overnight, and they decided to ship it back ground, which may have been a blessing in disguise, though, because I saw that where it's shipping from has like airport delays, and they said so. UPS said packages may be delayed, so maybe the ground is actually the better thing. So it still should take about 3 days to get, but then they still have to upload back my the backup that they took, so who knows. Hopefully back to next week. So this may be the we may have one more recording on my old computer here, back retro old school Civil Gore computer there. But yeah, so anyway, that kind of messed me up a little bit because and then with the holiday it just kind of took me off. So I've only watched a couple of the episodes off the Disc of the Twilight Zone, so I'm gonna wait until I catch up. So next Discmemberment I might have one or two full discs that I'll go over. But so that leads it into the next item on the first chop here, because I meant to announce this week. So by the time you're hearing this, it's literally like this day you have to to kind of act on this. So basically, our good buddy over there that did the Nightmare Worcester, who we met at the New Jersey Horror Con, who plays that amazing cosplay of Freddy Krueger. Well, he's appearing this weekend at Chiller Theater, and he's there with Mark Patton from, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and Jack Shoulder, which was the director of Elm Street 2. So they'll be there the April 26th to the 28th at the Hilton Parsippany, New Jersey, where the Chiller is. And you can check out chillertheater.com for more details. And we've been interacting with him through Instagram. And what a great guy he is. He seems really seems to get around with his cosplay. So keep an eye out and follow him, because you never know where he'll be next, and it's a great photo opportunity for especially fans of Elm Street, because you it's almost like you're posing with Robert Englund. He's that good.
It really is. It really is. I mean, it's probably the best Freddy cosplay I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh, by far.
Yeah. Next up, man, we're getting some really cool. It's killing me that we're not going to Halloween Horror Nights this year because they are just unveiling some really, really cool houses. There's a new house reveal called the Nightingale's Blood Pit. And the description says, imagine yourself transported back to ancient Rome where a ruthless emperor reigns and gladiatorial games are put on for bloody entertainment. Add in bloodthirsty creatures and you'll find yourself in the middle of Nightingale's Blood Pit, an all-new haunted house at this year's Halloween Horror Nights. And this is not the first original house I've seen that just sounds very creative.
Yeah.
Stuff I have never seen before.
Well, remember, that was the thing. We were all excited about the IP houses last year, but some of the original houses were, which we kind of had we were looking forward to them, but not at the level of the IP houses. But I gotta tell you, Universal does such an amazing job with their original houses that at some level they're almost a little more entertaining than say your average IP house where you literally walk through the movie that you already know. I mean, it's cool to see, don't get me wrong. The Poltergeist house was epic. The Stranger Things house was epic. But even the Michael Myers house was good, but you knew that one was predictable because you saw the movie, so you knew what was kind of coming, and it was literally Michael just repeating himself, popping out in spots. So yeah. It was some of those original houses like Scary Tales and the one what's the name of it actually, the one that terrified your kids, gosh, I can't remember the name of it. I've blocked it out of my memory.
It was the plant-based one.
The
Seeds of Extinction.
Seeds of Extinction, yes. That was amazing. And the carnival one was okay, but it was going to be cool. But then the one with the drive-in movie theater, Slaughter Cinema, was amazing. God, yeah. So I tell you, if you haven't been there, don't ever sell those original houses short because they're all top-notch.
And I think that's why you have the season pass holders and the guys that go every single year talk about the original houses being their favorite part. And now I understand why. Yeah. After having gone, I understand why everybody looks forward to those original houses. But especially since a lot of the IPs you see year after year, you see Michael year after year. And a lot of the longtime Halloween Horror Night goers have seen these IPs over and over.
Right.
But the original, you never know what you're going to get. And I agree, man. I think going back, I would be probably more hyped for these original houses.
Yeah, I would. Of course, yes. The new Stranger Things house will be great. And whatever IPs they come out with, I'm sure they're going to be really good ones. But, yeah, I think if our second trip, if we were going this year for sure, I'd be all about these original houses because you don't know what to expect other than just an amazing attention to detail and a lot of good scares.
Yeah. We got some Blumhouse news. I'm really excited about this. Who better to take over the mantle of the Universal Monsters than Blumhouse, which is just knocking everything out of the park these days. But Elizabeth Moss, who I really love, is joining the cast of Blumhouse's The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
And she's one of those actresses that can do no wrong in my book.
Oh,
she's just
absolutely.
great in everything she's in.
She is. And she's just, and it's this series is exciting because, we know the Mummy, it's kind of, I guess are they incorporating that in there, or are they starting fresh? Did we ever get confirmation on that?
I don't know.
They kept implying they're taking it over, but I don't know if they meant that in a literal sense of taking the mantle from where the new Mummy did, or are they literally just taking over the IP is what they're trying to say. So
yeah, I would love for them to just kind of start fresh.
Right.
I think that would be, because the Dark Universe had this whole idea behind it where you had Dr. Jekyll and this organization and all this. I don't know how you really continue that. I wish, I don't know why you have to have necessarily this grand overarching story. I think it would just be cool. Look what Penny Dreadful did. That series, that was a quote unquote shared universe, and that Frankenstein and the Wolfman, all this stuff existed in the same time and location, but you don't have to have this grand scheme. You could just have, have an Invisible Man movie, have a Wolfman movie, have a Dracula movie, and then maybe down the road you have a Dracula versus Wolfman movie.
Yeah, yeah. Establish the originals for like the solo films first. Get those.
Yeah.
Get those characters. Get everyone used to it. Even maybe do a couple of them. Before you start blending, because it's kind of like what I always say with in comparison to like the Marvel universe versus the DC universe one. It's like Marvel had a head start, and DC tried to catch up within like a year, and with already in the second film they're loading it with super, and then the third was Justice League, and they went way too fast. In my opinion, way too fast, and and it's some of them suffered. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but from what I understand, they got way back on track now. With Aquaman was amazing, and I heard Shazam was great. So it seems like they're kind of back on. They're kind of getting, and Wonder Woman was fantastic too. So I mean, they're getting there, but I think that in terms of their shared universe kind of setup, I just don't think that ever worked. They're kind of doing it backwards. But and if you look at like how Marvel did it, I mean now you have like everyone in the world like on pins and needles for the next day when they're about to release Avengers Endgame. So and that's
which even beat Star Wars pre-orders.
Yeah, with pre-order
the record. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not surprising because you're literally, it's a culmination of 22 films. So even someone that hasn't seen all of it and just seen followed their favorites and then watched the Avengers, it's definitely kind of a different thing, And I saw an interesting description, and it'll kind of lead into one of our upcoming things about. But I'll say never mind. I'll save that for when we get to that topic on our first chop coming up, but yeah, no, they were basically comparing those Star Wars to Avengers and a little bit of difference, but we'll get to the specific in a little bit. But yeah, so I mean that's if I'm have my druthers, so to speak, right, and they did Blumhouse takes us on, I'd want at least one of every film of the main characters, including Tim's favorite, the Creature. We need a new Creature film. That is one that has not been even attempted in a while, right? I mean, okay, you want to say Shape of Water, but
Yeah, I know, and I hope that movie, as much as I love Shape of Water, I love that movie.
Yes,
absolutely,
I as well. Yeah.
But I hope that didn't ruin the chance of a true Creature from the Black Lagoon reboot. You know what I mean? Because I hope it doesn't seem to land too close.
I don't think
because
so.
I mean, especially if you made the Creature reboot really scary. If you made it a true horror film, I'd hope you leave the romantic angle a little, a little less.
Yeah, I mean
obvious.
that was the thing. It was basically a Creature movie, based off it was a love story disguised as a Creature movie, essentially.
Right.
What Shape of Water was, and that was a different style altogether. I don't think that should sway anyone from trying to attempt a Creature movie, because that's just someone that I think, in all honesty, misunderstood Shape of Water. Then, which that's a movie we should do one time though. Do a full episode on it, because that was such a great film.
Yeah, I know it's not strictly horror, but it's just, man, I love even the soundtrack is amazing. I listen to the soundtrack probably, I don't know, maybe a couple times a month now. Still, even when I'm just kind of doing something on the side, that's the soundtrack I'll put on. It's just an amazing, amazing movie.
Yeah, so. And it's just the visuals of it, the stylistic visuals in that film, and the way the green just pops off in every shot. It's one of those ones that it's every time there's this dreamy, mesmerizing quality to it.
At some point we may have to branch out and do maybe some quote unquote horror adjacent movies.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to do. And Silence of the Lambs is considered horror by a lot of people. I don't really consider it horror. I consider it more of a serial killer thriller type movie. But
and I mean,
it's one I'd love to do at some point.
Yeah, and I know
I absolutely love that movie.
Yeah, and I know we kind of have it listed as a possible Slaycation, but I don't even know if that would work for Slaycation so much to do the Hannibal Lecter series, because maybe just Silence of the Lamb maybe get its own thing. Maybe we'll have to do an Academy Award month of horror and horror
a good
adjacent.
Idea.
We haven't really.
There's not that many.
No, there isn't, and we haven't really done a true themed month in a while. I know that we were real big on that in our first 2 seasons, but we haven't really kind of stayed away from that to try and just broaden our. I mean, I guess our countdown to 100 is sort of a theme, but very loose theme. So yeah, maybe we'll have to pick that at some point. Maybe towards the Oscar month of next year, maybe we'll kind of try and pop that in there. It might be a good.
Yeah, because as you know, Brian and I are not just horror film fans; we're film fans in general. So we love movies of all kinds. Like I bet you we could make a whole podcast about comedies.
Oh, easily.
I guarantee you,
easily.
I could probably make a whole movie about John Hughes a whole podcast about John Hughes movies, probably. So yeah, I mean, we quoted Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for like an hour.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah. Maybe.
So yeah,
if we ever get to the point of where Civil Gore is so big, and we do that, the spin-off podcast. That I think that was where we might need to go. Maybe we should do like one point down the road, like a limited edition spin-off where we just do the John Hughes films. As just a side.
Well, Coaster Radio does their off-topic episode. We might have to do like some kind of monthly off-topic or something. Would be fun.
Well, if we ever get to that Patreon thing,
if we ever get there.
But if we ever if we ever feel that hey, someone may actually give us a couple of bucks a month, we do that.
All right, so speaking of shared universes, this is a fan film that I have not been able to check out yet, but I really want to. It's a Michael versus Jason Evil Emerges fan film, which I cannot wait to see.
It was great. I watched it when I found out about it that day, and it is. I've been meaning to check it out again because I had watched it like 2 weeks ago when I thought we were going to record it right away. So I probably need to see it, but it's really, really cool. Where it's just like I heard, from what I understand, there was hardly a budget on this thing, but you would think it's like a huge budget because just the epic fight scene between Michael and Jason that literally lasts like almost a full half hour back and forth.
Gosh,
it's
great.
great.
I might watch that after this recording. Actually,
you should. It is fantastic, and I already heard they're working on a sequel to it. So
nice.
And it's just great. I mean, I have to say. This half hour is better than Freddy vs. Jason, the entire film, which I happen to like Freddy vs. Jason. But this, I think, this little half hour is of Michael vs. Jason is probably, I'd have to say it's better. I think I enjoyed this better. So it's really good. You guys got to check it out. It's on YouTube. It's free. So just look up basically Michael vs. Jason Evil Emerges and you'll find it right away.
Nice. Brian, I'm going to skip over the next one, and I'll save that one for last.
Yeah, I was quick on that, so I flipped it or whatever. I should have flipped it the other way, but
but one bit of news I was really excited about that Brian texted me was that there's a James Wan version of Salem's Lot on the way. So they're just after the success of it, they're just trying to remake every Stephen King movie.
Yes.
Which is fine. I love Stephen King. Like, it doesn't bother. For some reason, these remakes don't bother me, and I don't know why. Because usually I don't like the idea of remakes for movies I really love, and Salem's Lot, Pet Sematary, and even It are movies that I really loved. But I think enough time has passed that I kind of like seeing the updated spin on them.
Right.
It doesn't ruin the original for me.
Well, and also it's when movies are based on novels, each director could have his own interpretation of the book, which is what I like. Like James Wan may have read this book and totally envisioned it in his head. And so I know we now tend to envision it by the movie, but maybe, who knows? Maybe these directors will just read the book, kind of purposely forget about everything they saw in the movie and go right from there. Like, I think I read that John Lithgow didn't see the original Pet Sematary or something until after or something. I saw something like that when he was doing this one. Or like he saw it, but he didn't rewatch it intentionally. He saw it so long ago, but something, I don't know. I remember what the thing is, but that, that kind of like that is like, it's kind of interesting. Like, I don't mind remakes as much when it's based on a book like that, because, I don't know about you, but when I do read a book, and I know you read way more than me. So when I read a book, I kind of almost, if it's not been a movie yet, or I hadn't seen the movie, I kind of envision what the characters, characters will look like, and I kind of already cast it if it was a movie. So I like pick known actors kind of thing that in my head that I think would be good for it, and I kind of put them in that role. So that, I don't know, maybe that for me that's why I don't mind these remakes, because I'd like to see what another director pulls from the source material.
Yeah, and plus Stephen King's so hot right now, and we've reached a point, guys, where horror movies are actually good. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, back in the day, you expected every horror movie to kind of suck on some level. And we've reached a point now where there's actually really good writers and really good actors and really good directors making horror, because they've shown that it can be huge, huge, huge money at the box office. So I don't mind seeing a remake where I know you're getting some high caliber director like James Wan.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have some terrific actors in it. I mean, you're probably going to have some brilliant writers doing it. I don't mind seeing a remake when I know there's that much firepower behind it.
No, yeah, not at all. And like you said too, they're far enough apart where you can hold the two. They can exist together. They can, you can just let them coexist. I mean, you could still, of course, you're going to like one better than the other, but I would never not want to see something like this. It's like,
yeah.
I think, and it's funny because James Wan is obviously mostly known for all his ghostly images, and there's definitely, I mean, granted the Salem's Lots with vampires, but if he recreates that scene that used to freak me out as a kid,
scene, yeah.
Yeah, I call it the scene. Yeah, if he recreates that in a good way, I mean, it'd be tough to top that one the way it is, but I'd love to see him try, because I think everyone remembers that about the first Salem. I mean, it's got a GIF, for Christ's sake, on it pops all around. So I mean, the fact that it made it there, it's got to be something.
Yeah.
So he's got to somehow recreate that in there. But I wonder who he's going to get for, David Soul's character, Ben Mears. I wonder who he's going to get for that.
I don't know. I'm sure it'll be brilliant. I mean, the casting and stuff has been great so far with these remakes. So I'm sure that they've got I'm sure they have their top men on it.
Yes, I would hope so.
And then finally, we had a little horror break from horror, because we have to talk Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker title reveal and the trailer, which was magnificent. And I'm not going to share them here, spoilery, but I've got my theories on what all this means.
Yes, I have plenty. We won't go. I think we maybe do like this should be a bonus episode. Maybe right before Episode 9 comes out, we'll do a little bonus episode of our the leading up to the closeout of the sequel.
And
trilogy.
then I saw this article. Kevin Smith has a brilliant theory on what Rise of
Everyone has
Skywalker
that
means.
theory that he
I was
has,
like,
yeah.
come on! I thought of that theory like 2 seconds after the title was revealed. Come on, Kevin Smith.
And everybody, he's not, he's just, and listen, I love Kevin Smith. And it's just that's marketing. I'm sure he'd be the first to tell you, this is not. I'm not the only one that has come up with this theory. And I mean, and be careful now, because they are totally, like, things are now leaking out. Because I think once that trailer hit, like, they're still trying to tighten stuff up, but they're gonna leak. They're leaking a little things. Like, I read something the other day that was confirmed by one of the most reliable sources on the movie. And I mean, it's something that I expected, but and so I'm not like, oh, wow, they ruined the movie, because I still think with J.J. Abrams behind it, they could leak 75% of it, and the other 25% will still shock you in some way. So it'll be great. And the point I was making, what I was saving for this is, so this, I guess they released the totals for the downloads in 24 hours, and it was like 111 million. And
holy crap!
But they said, like, that was like, I think the Avengers was like 200 and something. But they said it's not really a fair number, because all the diehards that probably would have watched it 500 times straight were all at the Star Wars Celebration, where it was revealed live. So, so they're saying, like, most people watched it like I did. I streamed it when they showed it live. So that doesn't count as one of the in the numbers. So think about it. Anyone that was watching the Celebration panel and they saw it twice right there, that's like 2 things right there that, like, don't count towards the number. So they said most likely, if that was the case, it probably would have equaled the Avengers.
I'm sure it would have.
But of course, if you've not seen the trailer, the title was finally revealed. There was actually a big bombshell revealed in the trailer and after at the panel, which if you haven't seen, I won't go into, but I'm sure by now you've probably heard it. But basically, major character came back, and he teased it, and it just, I have to say, I was a little nervous to see the trailer, because and all the fan backlash over The Last Jedi. But I watched almost all the panels, either live or on replay, that were there, it just shows what a small number of those poisonous fans in the fan base really were. Like, I know there was that big thing where Kelly Marie Tran was literally forced off of social media because of the sexist abuse and the violence. Yeah. Well, when she got out on the stage, she was in tears because the crowd, she got the loudest ovation, and they were just chanting her name. And basically, she broke down in tears of happiness. And, you know, and the fans were just raving. And JJ said, he goes, the best thing Rian Johnson did was hiring her. So, you know, stuff like that. And even like Ahmed Best, you know, obviously known as, played Jar Jar Binks. They said he got a standing ovation, and they kept applauding. So, you know what? All those, you know, social media tends to blow up, you know, some of the poisonous.
Yeah, it's a very small minority of people that are really like that. I mean, you have to keep that in mind. And
I'm not talking about people that had issues with The Last Jedi, because I would never begrudge someone for not liking a film. I mean, I may give them a hard time, but if you don't like it, fine. But, you know, and I'm talking about those people that anytime you bring up a Star Wars movie, the first thing they say is, well, The Last Jedi stunk. Well, we're not talking about that. We're talking about something completely different. Stop bringing that, you know, those trolls, those poisonous fans. Yeah. Those are what I was afraid of. We're going to ruin but the things. But based on this teaser, which makes this movie look really, really good so far, I know, in just snippets, and the way the fans reacted, I like took like a deep breath. I'm like, okay, good. It's not as bad as I thought.
No, I think J.J. Abrams will right the ship. I think he'll, and when I say right the ship, I enjoyed Last Jedi.
I did too. But, you know, I said I've loved it. Yeah, I've said that before.
But you have to look. I mean, if realistically, J.J. Abrams took the story in one direction, and Rian Johnson then went back and completely dismantled that direction.
He did.
So even though I liked the Last Jedi in and of itself, I don't like it as the middle of a trilogy. If you're just going to go undo everything that was in the first movie. So I feel like there should have been a better organization, like a better overarching story from the beginning, before you had these different directors come in and just do their own thing. But I think J.J. Abrams is brilliant enough that he will figure out a way to right this ship and make these three movies flow.
Right.
I'm almost positive he will be able to pull that off.
I mean, I read an article. Like, I mean, I've read like not a day goes by where I'm not reading 3 or 4 articles on Star Wars things, and I read there was a thing in there. Now, whether you can take this with a grain of salt, because it may just be kind of some kind of PR damage control, but I mean, I read somewhere where J.J. Abrams, you know, Rian Johnson was on kind of, you know, being aware of all that J.J. was doing as he was creating that movie, Force Awakens. And so and J.J. actually went on and said something like a lot of the stuff that he took was was already what he had in mind. So I think a lot of people, I mean, obviously, you know, people had this problem, Luke's character. Well, that was established by J.J. Abrams, if you think about it, because Luke was exiled in Force Awakens. So the people that say, Rian Johnson killed Luke's character. So, well, no, but that was already established. He was, you know, like he was exiled and he removed himself. That was all set already. So you want to, I mean, Rey's parents was another big one. Snoke was a Rey parent. But also, I have a feeling that, and not that this should be the case, but remember, it is a trilogy. So sometimes when you wrap up the trilogy, it kind of validates some things in the middle that then make you appreciate that more. Now, not that like I do say, every movie should still stand on its own. But, you know, I have a feeling some people that may have been really harsh on The Last Jedi may mellow a bit if the third movie ties it up in a right way and you see it all as a trilogy. Sometimes,
I think it will.
It'll be better, yeah. So
I can think. And that's what part of my theory, and I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to spoil anything because my theory is probably right. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
It might be. Yeah.
But if it goes the way I think it would, to me, it would be a satisfying conclusion, and it would explain the discrepancies between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
Right. And
in a satisfying way. I think you could do that. If I can do it, I know J.J. Abrams can do it.
Yeah, and I think, you know? and you know what? It's Yeah, and I've always kind of said that because a lot of people had that same issue with, they hated Attack of the Clones because of this and that and that. But if you see that the prequel trilogy, I know it's been. I still have my issues with the prequel trilogy. I loved all three of them still. Yeah, even Phantom Menace. But if you look at it, it's really. My biggest gripe I always said is literally they should have just broken up kind of. Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Fish. Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Fish.
Yes, Revenge of the Fish. Yes, sorry, I was swallowing still my bourbon at the moment. Revenge of the Sith. That and Attack of the Clones basically could have been put together and split that into three, and that might have been a better thing because there was too much of that weird, political trade federation stuff in. And
we didn't really need to see Darth Vader as a little kid.
No,
that was way too far back.
Yes, and it made the whole love story in the second one awkward. So that, but granted, we did get Darth Maul out of it, but you could have incorporated Darth Maul into Attack of the Clones. Be it as may, I loved all three movies. I love all the Star Wars, films to date. Are some better than others? Absolutely. You're not going to have all at the same level. It's impossible. You're just not going to get that. It's like, but the same thing is like, if you look at that prequel trilogy as a whole, it works better than if you break up those movies into one. So I don't know. We could go on forever on this, which we promise we won't. We'll
better get back to
reel
horror.
this in. Yeah, we'll reel this in and get that out. But we'll do a special Star Wars centric episode. I think it's worthy of an off topic towards the end of the year when Rise of Skywalker is on its way.
Yeah, we're nerds. You guys know that.
Yes,
so
yes.
We have to go on our nerd tangents sometimes.
Yes.
So let's get right to our Blu-ray releases for the week of April 30th. This is our Discmemberment.
Wait, no, please, God. No, don't cut off my...
All right, first up we have Le Corruption de Chris Miller. The Corruption of Chris Miller from 1973. This is a Vinegar Syndrome release, and you're going to see a lot of those this week. Directed by Juan Antonio Bardem, starring Jean Seberg, Marisol, who just goes by one name, which sounds like a cleaning product, but okay. And Barry Stokes. A serial killer uses a scythe to slash his murder victims. Or maybe it's her murder victims. Wink, wink,
they
nod,
tell you
nod.
the twist right from the beginning.
So this one sounds pretty cool. It's got a brand new 4K restoration. It has a archival career retrospective interview with the director. Jean Seberg movie star, a short film exploring the tragic life of Jean Seberg.
Well, now I know I want to know what happens to him more than I want to see this movie now. What was so tragic?
It's got some English and Spanish sound mixes, an alternate Spanish ending, an alternate Spanish insert shot and partial title sequence, a theatrical trailer, and reversible cover artwork. So, interesting. It looks like that might be one I like. I like those early 70s slashers. Yeah. Those are kind of cool. Next up sounds fun, too. This one's called Tarantula from 1955. This is a Shout Factory release directed by Jack Arnold, starring John Agar, Mara Corday, and Leo G. Carroll. A spider escapes from an isolated Arizona desert laboratory experimenting in giantism and grows to tremendous size as it wreaks havoc on the local inhabitants. And this has a brand new 2K remaster, a new audio commentary with film historians.
Wow.
Three for the price of one. Tom Weaver, Dr. Robert J. Kiss, and David Schechter. Hello, ladies. I'm
That just
Dr.
sounds like
Kiss.
three guys they grabbed from anywhere,
Yeah.
But,
Dr. Kiss.
Yeah.
Dr. Kiss, the love doctor, ladies.
Yeah.
Here
Tim's
to,
in all his radio glory tonight with his...
Fill your prescriptions. This has a theatrical trailer and a still gallery. So those are those weird Shout Factory releases I kind of want to collect that are just like these crazy one-off 1950s obscure things that have no extras hardly.
Yeah, you kind of just like wonder why, where, do you think when we were in like the Shout Factory like weekly meetings, they're like, well, we need to get one more title in there, and someone just pulls up Tarantula, and they're like, what special feature do we got? Well, there was apparently these three film historians, or at least let's just say they're film historians. They're just hanging outside. Maybe we can get them to record a commentary track, and good, we're done.
Yeah, it's those weird guys that look at all the films that we have that we could buy rights to cheap.
Yeah, they're just in there.
We'll call them the film historians.
Film historians, yeah, just because they've been there so long,
All right, this next one is the funniest AKA I've ever seen. It's called Grandmother's House, AKA Grandma's House.
They really went in.
They really went all in on that. 1988, this is a Vinegar Syndrome release, directed by Peter Rader, starring Eric Foster.
That's an in-joke, but
that's an inside
all
joke.
Our crazy, slacky friends will know that one.
Eric Foster, Kim Valentine, and Lynn Lesser.
Well, you know who that is, right? You know who Lynn Lesser is, right?
No.
I'll give you a hint. Hello! Jerry, hello!
Oh.
It's Uncle Leo.
That's Uncle Leo?
Yeah. Lynn Lesser is Uncle Leo.
Because I was going to say a joke about, whenever you see Lynn Lesser in a movie, lesser is more. So.
Oh, well, that one works too. But yeah, so I went the more serious route for rarity, I guess. But yeah, that's Uncle Leo.
Okay, cool. After the death of their beloved father, two teens go to their grandmother's house in Florida and begin to suspect their grandparents of murder. So this has a brand new 4K restoration, The Mysterious Woman, an interview with actress Brink Stevens.
Oh, yeah, Scream Queen. There you go.
Yeah, back to grandmother's house, an interview with director Peter Rader. Yeah, slow and steady. For some reason, I found names hysterical today, even at work, so forgive me. Slow and Steady, an interview with writer-cinematographer Peter Jensen, an archival making a featurette which includes the original short concept film, a still gallery, and an original trailer, and that ubiquitous reversible cover artwork.
I thought we saw something on Civil Gore through this history that had Len Lesser in it. But I'm trying to see.
Possibly.
I don't remember now what it is. I'm like scrolling through his IMDb as we speak, and I can't find anything that we did. But I want to say, Grandma, this movie I may have seen. I think I might have seen this. I think this used to be. It was on. I want to say like early on when we did that. I think it was on it was either on Prime or something like that, and I watched this thing. Because I kind of remember the thing with Len Lesser in it and Uncle Leo doing stuff. So I think I might have seen this, believe it or not.
Wow. Okay, I'm glad I didn't pick that one as your guess. Then.
I still wouldn't have got it because I don't remember. All I remember is him in it. So that's never a good sign if that's all I can remember. So.
Next up is Dark Room from 1989. This is again released by Vinegar Syndrome, who is on a tear this week. Directed by Terrence O'Hara and Nico Mastorakis. Starring Aaron Teach, Jill Pierce, and Jeff Arbogh. Arbaugh. Arbogh. Looking for revenge for...
Oh, no.
This is the first time I've read this.
Yeah, this one... Yeah.
Looking for revenge for past incestuous experiences, a slasher invades a lonely farmhouse.
Wait, so the farmhouse is lonely? Like it has no other friend houses nearby? Is that what they mean by that?
I don't know. That's weird.
How can a house be lonely?
And they spelled incestuous, so maybe it means.
Oh yeah, maybe it's not.
Than...
Yeah, maybe we have it all wrong. I don't know.
This has a brand new 4K restoration, developing fear interview with actor Aaron Teach, exposing the truth, an interview with actor Jeff Arbogh. 5.1 stereo sound, still gallery, original trailer, reversible cover artwork. So, man, that reversible cover artwork is a thing now.
Yeah, it really is. I'm trying to figure out what the benefit
What's the deal?
Is it that, like, I'm trying to think if it's a benefit for the consumer, or is it that they couldn't decide what they wanted, so they decided to just literally put both.
I don't know. I don't know how that became such a selling point. It's just a weird thing. Like, you're only going to see one side of the disc.
Yeah, I mean...
when are you even going to see it?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think of is for as a consumer base, if the artwork was this really, like, legendary artwork, and, and it had, there was different, I guess, promotions for it back in the day, and they used both of them, but some of these movies that these reversible cover arts is like we never even heard of them, so I can't imagine that being the case. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they make a killing off doing these 12 different covers for Entertainment Weekly. I never get that either.
That's true.
So, there's probably people out there that buy all 12. I don't know.
Yeah, I just get whatever they ship me.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
care.
fine with that.
I don't care. Yeah. Oh, I got the Arya Game of Thrones cover. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed the Hound one. Oh, darn.
Yeah, I
Who
usually
cares?
get the one I want too. It's funny, just out of a fluke. Like I think
I always get the weird one. I always get the most weirdest one they have. It seems like
the Star Wars ones. I always get the character I want, so it always just blends. It's lucky. I don't know. Maybe I get lucky. I don't know.
No, like if I got the Star Wars one, it would be one of the squid people in the bar. That's the one I'd get. It'd be one like the most random one. Yeah. The next one is my pick of the week. It's called The Brain from 1988. This is a Shout Factory Collector's Edition, and I picked this one just because it has so many good extras on it. I have never seen the movie. It stars Tom Bresnahan, Cynthia Preston, and David Gale. With the help of an alien organism, a man brainwashes audiences through television. A troubled high school student is determined to stop them. So this has a brand new 4K restoration and 3 audio commentaries. One with director Ed Hunt, one with composer Paul Zaza, and one with actor Tom Bresnahan. Has a new interview with actress Cynthia Preston, an interview with actor George Buza, new interview with assistant art director Michael Borthwick, because I guess the regular art director wasn't available.
Yeah, I know.
And a new food for thought, a love letter to the brain, and a still gallery. But, I've seen some people, I'm on the Shockwaves group, and they post a lot of their DVD purchases. I've seen a lot of people posting this one, so a lot of people are excited about this one for some reason. I have not seen the movie, but
I want to say I did many years ago, but it's definitely one I do not remember much detail about. So
this next one gets honorable mention for the AKA.
Yeah, awards. I was gonna say, what is with these AKAs this week? They're like just the laziest AKAs ever. Like, why bother?
This one's called Death Warmed Up, a.k.a. Death Warmed Over. All these AKAs sound like what somebody accidentally called it. They said, yeah, I guess that's the title, whatever.
Yeah, why even bother to change it at that point? It's so, it's literally one word.
Yeah. What was that movie, Death Warmed Over, or something like that?
Yeah. I think, you know what it is? I think it's like, you ever notice how mothers tend to mispronounce movie titles and they're off by like a word? Maybe this is for them. They decided the guy's mother was there and he's like, did you see that Death Warmed Over? It's warmed up.
You're gonna go see Rise of the Cloud Walkers?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, it's either that or literally it's like, oh, did you know that movie with that guy? That's usually the other version. So I guess they need to name something, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Apparently, I have a Jewish mother as well, so...
there you go. See?
1984, Severin Films, directed by David Blythe, starring Michael Hurst, Margaret Umbers, and William Upjohn. Kid is hypnotized by a scientist, I hate when that happens, to kill his parents and ends in a mental institution. As a grown-up, he returns to seek revenge over the scientist. Okay.
That seems like a pretty clean-cut plot, pretty basic.
It sounds kind of Stranger Things-y.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a Blu-ray exclusive, original New Zealand 4x3 VHS cut. 4:3.
What is New England like? New Zealand has the rights to this now?
I guess. This has an audio commentary with director David Blythe and writer Michael Heath. I'll get you all, my pretties. Interview with actor David Lech. It did not say my pretties. I added that. Deleted scenes with optional audio commentary by director David Blythe and writer Michael Heath. An interview featurette with David Blythe and Michael Heath, who are apparently the only two guys that want to be associated with this movie anymore.
Yeah.
Theatrical trailer, VHS trailers, TV spot, a reversible wrap, and an exclusive slipcover. If you really want to get fancy with your DVD cover.
You have more... as many covers and wraps as features in this thing. What's going
on? This next one is Brian's pick of the week because I labeled it so.
Yeah, sure. I think it would be.
But I thought you might legitimately pick this one. Possibly.
No, I probably would have actually.
This was Hannibal from 2001, released by Kino Lorber. That's why I added this one, because this is a new edition of this disc. I'm sure Hannibal's been out on Blu-ray.
Yeah, no,
before.
I have the old ones, but I don't think I have the old ones on the Blu-ray. I mean, I've Silence the Lambs on Blu-ray, but I don't have the rest of the ones because they were just kind of bare bonesy.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for good versions. So this might have legitimately been my pick of the week, because I'm probably going to get this to.
Yeah, this sounds like a great disc. Of course, starring Anthony Hopkins, Julianne Moore, and Gary Oldman. Living in exile, Hannibal Lecter tries to reconnect with now disgraced FBI agent Clarice Starling and finds himself a target for revenge from a powerful victim. So this has a brand new 4K restoration with exclusive HDR SDR color grading by cinematographer John Matheson. So that's a really a legit restoration there.
Yeah.
An audio commentary by Ridley Scott, which has got to be good. Breaking the Silence, a 5 unique making of Hannibal, including rare footage and interviews. 75-minute featurette there. A 40-minute anatomy of a shootout, 5-angle breakdown of the fish market action scene. A 40-minute breakdown. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Ridley Grams, a featurette on the art of storyboarding, 8 minutes. An exploration of the film's opening title design, 8 minutes. Over 35 minutes of deleted and alternate scenes with optional director commentary. An alternate ending with optional director commentary, 6 minutes long. 19 TV spots. A theatrical teaser, a theatrical trailer, and a limited O-card slipcase. So, the Hannibal was weird because, everybody expected the sequel to Silence of the Lambs. Oh my God, Silence of the Lambs. There's got to be a sequel. And I remember reading the book first, because the book came out first. And I was like so disappointed because I was like, it was so completely off the wall. Crazy. But in retrospect, I've kind of learned to love it a little more, and especially the movie version as well. So it's not like my favorite because Silence of the Lambs is so sacred to me. But it's really cool just to have this movie get a really good edition. I think it's kind of neat. I think I would like to own this one as well. And finally up, let's see. Well, not finally, because we do have Brian's guest, but this one is one of the famous Emmanuel movies. So this one is called Emmanuel and Francois, a.k.a.
Didn't Joe Bob make a funny thing about that, where he's like, those Emmanuel movies, but not that one. The ones that, like, Emmanuel and
oh, like he mentions these all the time.
He's like Emmanuel in space or whatever.
Yeah. This one has an AKA of Emmanuel's Revenge, if you're looking for it.
I think this one used to be on cable.
This one's 1975, Severn Films, directed by Joe D'Amato, starring George Eastman, Rosemary Lint, and Annie Carroll Adel. Emmanuel is out to avenge her sister, who committed suicide after escaping from her sadistic lover, Carlo. So she chains him up in her basement, drugs him, and forces him to watch her having sex. Carlo starts hallucinating all kinds of bloody horrors and cannibalistic doings, so he decides he has to break free and kill Emmanuel. So he's being tortured by she's forcing him to watch her having sex.
Yeah. I think this one is ripe for the last drive-in. I think
I think so.
Joe Bob's got to bring this one up there.
Brand new 2K restoration, 3 Women in a Mirror. Interview with actress Maria Rosario Riuzzi. The Other Side of the Mirror.
What's with this mirror? What is...
with actor George Eastman. I guess George Eastman was on the other side.
Apparently, yeah.
Checking out these 3 women. Deleted alternate scenes, a trailer, and a reversible cover, and a limited edition slipcover.
God,
I have not seen
covers.
I've not seen any of these Emmanuel movies.
I remember seeing some, because they used to always be on like Cinemax all the time, and it was just like
Skinemax, of course.
Yeah, but you'd end up like, late at night if you're trying to. That's all that was on these channels and cable, and like I think I saw this one because of the it actually kind of like I must have had a really good horror scene on top of everything else going on, and I'm like, okay, what is this?
Sure, that's the reason.
Well, no, I'm not saying I didn't stop if there was nudity on the screen. I'm just saying I may have what kept me there,
Oh, let's see. So next up is our last title, Unlisted Owner, from 2013. This is released by Tempe Digital, directed by Jed Bryan. I had a whole Beverly Hillbillies song made up around this I was going to do. where it's listed to a director by a man named Ted.
You should have.
Poor indie filmmaker barely kept his family fed. Or anyway, I had this whole thing, but
Because it probably would have been much better than my guess here, but...
This stars Chris Ash, Levi Atkins, and Chloe Benedict. So, Brian, what is Unlisted Owner about?
All right. So, I am thinking that basically a young college student goes in to rent this apartment from somebody, but it turns out that the landlord has a sinister plot which develops over the course of the film. I don't know that sinister plot. I'm not going to guess that part, but I'm guessing there's some kind of backstory to what the landlord is not telling this poor young college student who rented it all unassumingly and got a really great rate on it and probably shared with her friends. Like, I can't believe I got this great place for this little.
Ooh, you're pretty close. Like, I'm going to give you half a point for this one.
Wow.
In Kim and Ket turns.
I know. Do I get a half a ding?
Yeah.
Sorry, Kim and Ket, but you steal Tim's voice all the time, so it's about time we take a little something back.
We were kind of on the right. You're kind of on the right track. So, after a family moves into a house, is murdered by an unseen subject. The summary is not written correctly, but so basically, a family moves into a house and is murdered by some unseen murderer. After the tragic events, a group of teens discover that the house the murder took place in is right down the road from where they're camping. So they decide to break in and investigate. And they encounter the unknown murderer and become his next victims.
Gotcha.
So this one actually, I watched the trailer for this one. Actually looked kind of cool to me. It's a found footage one.
Oh, okay.
So, but it kind of looked kind of interesting to me. I kind of want to check this one out.
Yeah, I may check that out now too. Since it was the closest I ever got to one of the, and I'm even not that close. That was a very generous half a point.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I was feeling generous, so yeah, you're probably right. But anyway, so time to move on to our featured film, The Fog from 1980, of course directed by the great John Carpenter, starring the lovely Adrienne Barbeau as Stevie Wayne, Jamie Lee Curtis as Elizabeth Sully, Janet Leigh as Kathy Williams, John Houseman as Mr. Machin. Is that how you spell it?
I don't remember how they
said
it.
Remember.
I don't know if though they said his name in it.
Yeah. Tom Atkins as Nick Castle. I never caught that. James Canning as Dick Baxter, Charles Cyphers as Dan O'Bannon, Nancy Loomis as Sandy Fatal, Ty Mitchell as Andy Wayne, and Hal Holbrook, the great Hal Holbrook, as Father Malone. Of course, an unearthly fog rolls into a small coastal town exactly 100 years after a ship mysteriously sank in its waters. And I did, to be quite honest, I did not watch this movie before the podcast. I have seen it many times. The last time I saw it was probably 6 months to a year ago. So I'm a little fuzzy on the actual plot points, but
would you say you're a little foggy on the details?
I'm a little foggy, yes. But Brian will help me through it, and of course we got some discussion points and everything. But this is one of those movies that has grown on me over the years. Like when I first saw it, I wasn't too typically impressed by it, and the more I've watched it, the more I've kind of grown to love it. Especially when you start listening to the commentaries, you realize that John Carpenter was really working against some really bad conditions here with just a very low budget, and this, like one of our trivia says, this is essentially a low budget independent movie, but it doesn't feel like a low budget movie, and it's because John Carpenter chose to shoot the movie in anamorphic widescreen Panavision, so it has the feel and look of a really big budget film, but it was done on such a low budget, so it's kind of this cool hybrid mix between, to me, Halloween, which is a true low-budget indie film, and The Thing, which is like a big-budget John Carpenter film. You kind of have the fog sitting there in the middle.
Yeah, no, and I remember I hadn't seen it in a while until we decided to watch it for the episode. But I remember, like, I think when I first saw it, though, I was younger, so I probably didn't appreciate a lot of the stuff that I do now. And you know, this time I watch it, I'm like, wow, I said, why haven't I watched this more often? Because, you know, and I actually, I mean, I guess it grew on me in a different way, you know, a little faster from, you know, because I hadn't seen it in years. But this is actually, I really got a brand new appreciation for rewatching it this time. I really liked it.
Yeah, it is really. It's a really interesting movie. It's an interesting story. So basically, it starts out with, and I really love the opening of this movie.
Yeah,
because this is where the old man's like sitting around a campfire with the kids, tell them about this, the whole mythology around this movie, and essentially what you find out is there was this clipper ship named the Elizabeth Dane, and this I guess we should say where this movie takes place.
yes.
So this happens to be in the Antonio Bay is what the name of this location is. And it's a really beautiful location, especially I think the Blu-ray goes into the filming locations. It shows what it looks like now, and it looks almost identical now still, which is pretty cool. But so Antonio Bay had founders back in 1880, and they deliberately sunk and plundered this clipper ship named the Elizabeth Dane. And the ship was owned by this man named Blake, who was this wealthy businessman with leprosy who wanted to establish a leper colony.
Yeah, he wanted that was just an interesting, weird little wrinkle to the plot. But
so they didn't want him to do that, so they sank and plundered the ship, took the gold, and used the gold from that ship to build Antonio Bay, the town, and its church. So the whole gist around the fog is that the dead crew from this old clipper ship, the Elizabeth Dane, have come back via the fog 100 years later to kill 6 people as substitutes for those 6 founders that murdered them 100 years prior. So kind of a cool premise. I like the story.
It's like a traditional like ghost story kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard many of those ghost stories with the ships. Like there was one I always remember where there were these, I guess there was this, I remember, I don't know who used to tell it to me, but there was this ghost story about where this ship crashed and I guess everyone on board died and the mother and her baby were buried in separate cemeteries on the other side of the lake each or something. And they said on certain nights, if you listen, you can hear the mother calling to try and find her baby. Like, you know, and it was all, you know, it was because of the ship. Yeah. So there's always these, with ships in the night, like basically way back in the day, you know, it's always like a really cool premise for a ghostly tale. And, you know, and I think the film starts off that way in such a great manner because it's like who better to tell a freaking ghost story than John Houseman, for God's sake, right?
Yeah, exactly. It sets a tone right away. This is like a traditional ghost story.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So the next scene we have 3 local fishermen, one of which is named Tommy Wallace, which is cool.
Yeah, I think there's a Tommy Wallace in like every Carpenter movie somewhere.
Yeah. So 3 local fishermen are attacked and murdered by these supernatural attackers after the fog covers their boat. So this is where you get the first murder and the first clue. There's something evil in the fog that is out to get everybody. And then, of course,
you notice who one of the guys was? One of the guys on that ship was the homeless guy in Back to the Future. You know, the one like he's like,
really?
You drunk drivers? Yeah, he was in like. I caught that.
So you have such a good eye for stuff like that. I don't have as good a.
It's a blessing and a curse because it'll sometimes take me out of the movie when I'm trying to figure out who the heck it is and what I've seen him in. IMDb definitely helps that a lot. That I could just pop on.
Incidentally,
to confirm.
I was listening to the Chris Jericho podcast that he did where they did a Sleepaway 2 camp commentary. Sleepaway 2 movie commentary, and they were kind of playing this game where they were like. Say, oh, is that so and so? And it would be somebody completely not the right actor. It was pretty funny how it was making me laugh. So
I gotta listen to that one.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of when he's like, that would be me. Like you would be telling the exact right person, and I would be saying, oh, isn't that like Bruce Willis? And they're like, no.
Well, sometimes I'll for fun I'll do it like that's like a poor man's Bruce Willis or something like that.
Yeah,
I'll make a joke that way because it's funnier. But in the terms of in the terms of like when I'm watching a movie, like, yeah, it's amazing what I can spot, like what they're in and what they're from. Cause I just have this weird like memory for that kind of stuff.
I tend to do that with music videos. Like I'll be like, oh, and on drums is, oh gosh, I'm blanking. I'm trying to name musicians. But I'll see some drummer that looks like some actor, like, know, Brad Pitt. I'll be like, oh, there's Brad Pitt on drums. I used to do that all the time. Like every musician looked like an actor to me. So anyway, so now we introduce the ultimate ladies' man, Mr. Tom Atkins.
He seriously is, man. Especially John Carpenter has this like this.
I know.
John Carpenter must have seen Tom Atkins and said, "This is who I want to look like. This guy gets all the ladies." Now, as misguided as that might have been at first sight, Tom Atkins does it in every movie.
Like, I think he's really like that. Like, I think if Tom Atkins right now got in a truck and started driving down a road, this beautiful hitchhiker would magically appear and she would get in the truck with him and they'd be in bed that night. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, and look at the women he gets. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, Stacey Nelkin. I mean, all like, like attractive women here. Yeah.
He's the man. So anyway, of course, Tom Atkins.
It's that mustache.
That's
what
mustache.
it is.
He works his magic and he picks up Jamie Lee Curtis, who is hitchhiking. Her character name is Elizabeth in this movie. And so they drive towards town, and this is where you start getting some supernatural elements creep into the movie because the radio and the headlights of the car start to turn off and on, and the windows of the truck blow out.
Yeah.
And stuff starts happening all around the town, ghostly type stuff. So the fog is bringing some kind of paranormal activity into the town. So, and this kind of stuff starts accelerating. Like there's one point where Adrienne Barbeau, and I love her character in this because she's like a radio DJ, and she just has that perfect voice for this.
Oh my god, she's just awesome anyway, in everything we, and especially we got to meet her. She's as classy as you would expect in real life.
Oh my gosh,
and
totally.
and so now after seeing her and then seeing her in this, I'm just like, she's exactly the same, like as she was in real life, just so cool and chill and.
Yeah, awesome, and one of the trivia points was that she modeled her voice or patterned her voice after Alison Steele, who was a real female disc jockey from the '60s, known as the Nightbird. How cool is that? I
could see Adrienne Barbeau being a Nightbird.
Yeah, so she actually she just fits this role perfectly, and she was married to John Carpenter at the time of this movie. But so her young son comes in and shows her a plank of wood that he's found, and it reads Dane. So obviously, it's a piece of the Elizabeth Dane. That the ship that was sunk and plundered, and he comes in and she puts this plank on her radio, and it starts to seep water and like shorts out her whole radio system. So another piece of supernatural goings on, and this is where you get the idea that 6 must die because the plank gets burned into it. 6 must die, and the plank bursts into flames and all this kind of stuff. So you know that. So I guess 3 are already gone, right? The fishermen.
Yeah, they were the 3. But is it wrong now that I'm like in the mood to play Sea of Thieves? Like right after this, I'm like in the mood now, like to plunder Cone again. But
I still feel so stupid because I missed all these references until I went back and started looking at the synopsis. Like, they find the fishermen that were killed, and they find Elizabeth finds the corpse of Dick Baxter, who was one of the fishermen that was killed. So they take him to the coroner's office, and who is the coroner? Dr. Phibes. Yeah. Now, how did I never catch that?
I don't. There's a lot. This movie alone is like a ton of little like wink, wink, nod, references all over it. Yeah, I mean,
and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, of course, the Vincent Price classic, The Abominable Dr. Phibes, is what I'm referring to. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, no, there's just a lot of little like, and there's just some cool like connections in it too. There's like the Adrienne Barbeau, Hal Holbrook, which of course would star in that Creep Show. Sequence. What was it? The Crate. It was called, right? Was that? I always forget the title.
The Crate,
of it. Is it literally just The Crate? I call it The Crate one, but I never actually. I always forget if that's actually the title.
And I totally wish I had talked to her about that because that's literally my favorite anthology. That was my favorite Creep Show anthology story, like forever. Like that was my favorite, The Crate.
Yeah, and this one's got like John Carpenter all over it. It's got his whole crew basically. But it also has, of course, Janet and Jamie Lee together.
Which was cool. Yeah, that was really cool.
And then there's a reference to Bodega Bay, of course, famous from the Birds. And actually, I put a note down there where I wrote, like, what is with these waterside areas of California? Seriously, it's like Bodega Bay from the Birds, of course, Antonio Bay in The Fog, Santa Cruz for the Lost Boys and Us. Mm-hmm. What the hell's going on? And I've gone to some of these places. I'm like, whoa, was I risking my life?
Well, as my granddad used to say, he said a long time ago the earth shifted and all the nuts rolled to California. So
yeah, poor Julie though.
No offense to Julie. That's just that's one of my granddad's old sayings. So.
Yeah, but look at, I mean, seriously though, what's these waterside references in California? There's always like something.
Yeah, I know. But this is one of the really cool sequence where the body comes alive on the autopsy table and tries to go after Elizabeth. So that's kind of cool. So now you know, not only can these ghosts like blow out radios and stuff, they can actually inhabit dead corpses.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. What else we got? We got, I think there's another murder coming up because we have, this is when the ghost kills him with a hook. Dan. Right. That's the Weatherman guy.
Oh, and, that's right. Charles Cyphers.
Remember?
And he's, and of course he was big in Halloween. We know him from. Yeah, that's right, because he's got the little flirtation going on with Adrienne Barbeau, and she's trying to warn him because she knows something's up. And yet, it's so funny because she seems to be picking up on a lot of what's going on, and yet she's so exiled from everybody. Because she's off in that lighthouse that's like literally got, 30, 40 steps downward and then back up. And it's like this really cool like setup in there. And so she's away and she's literally telling him, no, I could see the fog, and then like she knows something's wrong and she's trying to warn him. And he's like all cocky and trying to be suave. And he's trying to pull a Tom Atkins, but he just can't do it.
No, because he's a weatherman.
Yeah, weathermen don't become Tom Atkins.
No, they don't. Even if they have the mustache like Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, it's just not working.
So now the ghost gets smart to start cutting phone lines and power.
Yeah. At some point, they got to smarten up and accelerate this thing.
So anyway, basically during this whole thing, like it's kind of weird how Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis get involved in all this, but everybody's just kind of running around in this town from all this.
Well, she thinks it's her fault. At like one point, Jamie Lee Curtis is like, "Oh, this is my bad luck. It's all my fault.
I brought the ghost again."
Yeah, she just wanders in there and like this 100-year-old curse, like, but it's all her fault. It's like.
Yeah, but this is where the ghosts come after Stevie and her son, and wind up taking out the babysitters.
Yeah.
Be careful when you take a babysitting job that you don't take one in Antonia Bay, because
or anything to do with John Carpenter either.
Yeah, really. That's right. So that's a victim number 5 by my count, right?
Yes.
So we had the 3 fishermen, we had the weatherman, and now the babysitter.
There's one left.
So this is where they all start heading. This is where they start heading back to the church, right? Because they had decided like the only safe place in town is this church built off the gold off this plundered ship.
Right. Like it's amazing that wasn't the first thought, but you had to build the movie. Well, actually, the audience kind of knows it's up because Hal Holbrook in the beginning gets that little supernatural thing when he's there by himself late at night. I guess that guy leaves. And he has the thing, and he discovers the book and the whole thing, and so
and this brings like this final sequence was my favorite in the movie because the ghost looks so cool with like the glowing eyes. Effect is just really, really neat. I think anything with glowing eyes, I love. Like I love Jawas because they have glowing eyes and a hood. Anything that has, and then there's that Total Eclipse of the Heart video with the glowing eye people. Like there's
Tim to put the fog and Total Eclipse of the Bonnie Tyler like together with Total Eclipse of the Heart.
But
Tim shares universes just randomly at will.
And Star Wars, don't forget, Jawas. So yeah, I love anything with like glowing eye people. And the ghost of this just looked fantastic, especially if you consider the low budget they did these with. I mean, it's very effective. It really looks good. I think it still looks good.
If they didn't mention that it was low budget, you could easily be fooled. It was that good.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Father Malone knows he is like the last he's the last descendant of these original 6 guys that sunk this ship. So he decides to sacrifice himself, and he has a gold cross made of the gold from the ship. So he's going to confront the ghost and sacrifice himself to save the town, which they only need one more person. So, I mean, I guess that's very noble of him to be that last person. He could have just grabbed some rando
he could
off
literally
the street.
Like, start throwing people left and right. But he is a priest, so I guess he's got good morals.
So anyway, so now you got this final sequence where the father holds the cross and the ghosts come after him, and the cross and the ghost and everything and the fog disappears in a flash, And Nick manages to pull Father Malone away from the cross. And so now the ghosts are banished, and you think, oh, that's awesome. He did it. His noble sacrifice, he didn't have to die. He was able to give them the ghosts the golden cross and banish them once and for all. But then, of course, it wouldn't be a horror movie without a great twist ending, right? So,
Yes.
Our final scene, Father Malone's alone in the church, and the fog reappears, decapitating Father Malone and sending his head careening off as the screen cuts to black. So, kind of a cool. The ghosts weren't going to let him get off that easy.
No,
it makes you think why they just they were just playing with him. I don't know why they just decided to vanish and make him
I
faint.
mean, I don't know if you really need to like even delve into it. Why? It's like I think it's just like a cool ending. So
yeah, so that's your fun twist ending. So it's a really cool movie. It's one of those there's not a whole lot to it in terms of plot. Like the plot, the story idea behind it is cool. But it's essentially just a lot of encroaching danger and weird effects happening and everybody kind of scrambling around. But then you do have, because the body count's not super high. 3 of the people get offed in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
I mean, it's literally 6 people. That's it.
Yeah, that's 6.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I mean,
6
I guess if you count the original crew, but they don't show them die really. So
it's not like a slash or anything. It's not like you're having constant cool kill scenes or anything. But it's just kind of a neat movie. It's unique. I can't think of many movies that I could really compare it to in terms of the way it's paced and everything. So
yeah,
I mean, it's a John Carpenter movie. I guess that's all you can say.
And it's funny if you think about it, right? I mean, he did a great job of expanding it into a feature. But if you look at one of the facts, he did at one point. It was short. It was too short, and they needed to add some scenes to it. But it could have also easily been. It has a very anthology segment feel to it. If you think about it, because it's a very, those usually anthology segments will have like a very quick, basic premise to it. And like if they could have actually, I mean, I'm glad, don't get me wrong, I'm glad that it was a full feature film because it was really good. And there was I didn't feel any scenes were wasted in any way. But, it's like it could have easily been a really good anthology film too, where it was just like, you could do John Houseman opening it the same way and then going through the story, and it's just quick in 15 to 20 minutes. You get everything you need to, and then it goes. But that's, to me, that's the brilliance of it, that they did expand it into a full feature film, and it was still really good. Like it holds your interest the whole time. Like there was never you're like, all right. Like dull moment. It was always something going on in it. And we didn't even touch on some of the little things, like how somehow Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis got roped into they just, because of the device of Adrienne Barbeau's sexy voice, they were able to go find her son at the house.
Yeah.
They keep just turning around. They can't, the truck is going every which way around Antonio Bay. It's like every time they're heading this way, they whip around, turn back, go here, go. But it's just really a cool movie. And it's some of the facts on this one. I put a lot on there, but some of these were some of our more interesting facts that I think that we got, if you look at some of them that I put.
Yeah, and what you were saying about how this was originally too short and then they had to add scenes, and then when you go into the commentary, I would highly recommend picking up the Blu-ray collector's edition of this.
Yeah, I have that good version. I didn't watch all the special features, but I have that special edition.
Yeah, the commentary and the features were really, really good on this one. And they go a lot. John Carpenter goes a lot into how this film was created in terms of having to go back and do reshoots and this and that. I mean, it sounded like utter hell at the time. But I think that's also what makes this movie kind of feel unique. And it's kind of hard to pin down. Like, even after I've watched it multiple times, it's kind of hard to get sequences right in my mind without kind of looking at a cheat sheet, because the movie did have... it wasn't like most movies where you had everything completely planned out from start to finish, and then it's filmed, and then that's what you have. This was kind of pieced together, and I think that's what kind of gives it that kind of frenetic feel. But it turned out good. I mean, he made something out of it.
Oh yeah.
One of these on here was I thought was interesting was his inspirations for the film, which were both related to Great Britain. So John Carpenter stated that one of his inspirations was a British film called The Crawling Eye from 1958, which dealt with monsters hiding in the clouds. And he also said that he and Deborah Hill were inspired by a trip to Stonehenge, in which Stonehenge was covered in fog during their visit. So he kind of had this idea of creatures coming out of the fog. Stephen King would do this later in The Mist. If you remember that great story and that actually a really decent adaptation of things coming out of the fog. So that's kind of cool. Kurt Russell was offered a role in this movie, so we could have seen more of Kurt Russell's sack.
I know,
in this
and
film.
it would have been a foggy sack. But I mean, I really, in all honesty, could the world handle Tom Atkins' mustache and Kurt Russell's sack in one film?
I don't know about that. No.
Yeah.
I'm kind of skipping some of these, but because some of them we talked about. This one goes back to your point, Brian. John Carpenter mentioned during an interview with Fangoria magazine that he was interested in producing an anthology series based on The Fog.
There you go.
But it would not have featured any of the characters from this movie. Instead, The Fog would have served as a catalyst for other supernatural stories in other locations. And then as the series progressed, ties to the film would become more apparent. So, long story
That's almost
short,
like Castle Rock, years before.
This sounds really cool, but unfortunately, what we got out of this whole thing was the 2005 remake of The Fog, which is just terrible. They basically re-envisioned this as a typical teen horror movie. It was really disappointing.
Yeah, I don't think I never even saw that one, actually.
I saw it, and it's completely forgettable. Yeah. We've already mentioned that some of these character names like Nick Castle, Tommy Wallace, these are all real people that John Carpenter worked with. This one I found interesting. I saw this one on the DVD. Is in the last scene, Stevie Adrian Barbeau is on top of the lighthouse, and the fog slowly disappears. But they had no way to get the fog to actually. You can't get fog to do what you want it to do.
Yeah,
so,
it's very disruptive as an actor.
Right. So they basically had Adrian Barbeau perform her scene in reverse and then have the fog piped in. So it looked like the fog was rolling out.
How cool is Adrian Barbeau, right? She's willing to go backwards just to make sure that this film gets done right.
But yeah, so that's but it's also a testament to John Carpenter's genius in terms of working with a low budget too. I mean, to be able to do stuff like that. And there's numerous examples. That's just one out of many when you listen to the commentary of low budget ways they pulled off very high budget effects. And one interesting thing, Adrian Barbeau, is famous for this movie, but she never has any direct on-screen interaction with any other characters besides her son.
Yeah, and it's weird, especially people remember this. You have to remember Jamie Lee Curtis and Adrian Barbeau, and neither one were in a scene together. And and they said she's only it was only the two ghosts that one time she has to deal with, and her son. Basically, that's it. So most of the time, and it's so weird because her voice is so resonant through so many scenes in the movie. So it almost misleads you if you think back, because everyone's listening to her on the radio. So you almost it almost plays with your head, she has that whole just audio interaction with Charles Cypher's character, and then how the Stash and Lee Curtis there are listening to her on the radio. So, it's and everyone or she's on the phone, so it's weird. It's because, the audience sees her interact with everybody, but they actually don't interact.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I actually enjoy movies that have feature a DJ.
Me too. Like The Warriors, I love that,
Yeah, or there was another one, I can't remember the name of it at the time. It was Pontypool. Have you seen that one?
No.
Pontypool is that one takes place in a radio station, and there's stuff happening outside the radio station to the town, and they're the only connection to the outside world, but they don't know what's going on because they're isolated inside this radio station. So
there's that Netflix animated series the Curlian Frequency, where it's that animated thing where it all takes place with that radio guy. But it's animated, and he does that and stuff. Yeah, I like that too. There's something. Well, okay, so when there was a point where I did not have I think for a little while I didn't have a TV in my room when I was a kid, and so I would listen to radio. And there's something about at night in a dark room, and you're listening to a DJ, and it's especially at night, there's just some cool. If you listen to that talk radio, there's something cool about it. And it's this intimate setting, and it's just there's just, I can't explain it. There's just something almost this weird, cool, magical kind of thing about it, because you can't see the person, but you hear their voice in your room with you, and it's dark, and it's just the light of maybe whatever the street light outside is, or the radio per se that's playing. And usually they tend to get people with those really good voices for the nighttime, and it's just like,
unlike us,
unlike us, who you listen to at night and you're like, oh god, now I'm not gonna be able to get to sleep. I'm gonna hear Brian's grating. Like Tim could probably lull you to sleep in a nice dulcety bedtime story, but me, I'm like the jarring alarm clock that you can't shut off. It's like, but
no,
yeah,
I think that's why I like podcasts. I think it kind of takes you back to the old radio days.
It does, yeah.
So it's kind of cool that way.
Yeah, well, if you ever heard, I don't know if you listened to I have the full, I have the Empire and Star Wars, but the Star Wars radio drama.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I have that full box set. It was a limited edition, but I still need to get the Return of the Jedi one. I mean, you can find it on eBay, but I had the first, and that is something about that. The radio dramas are cool, It's like, when you just, and I think you're right. That's probably why podcasts to me are so good, because it's more like the radio than it is just like, you're, watching a TV show. Because, the imagination you can pull into it, which you don't get when you're watching TV, because you're already being stimulated visually. So
right, yeah. Well, I think we're so stimulated these days because we're always staring at computers and TVs and things like that. I think it's kind of a nice break to go back to that kind of retro, where all you have is audio and your imagination can fill in the rest. You're not so stimulated. So
you gave me a great idea. You know what we need to do one time? Maybe as a bonus episode somewhere, we could take and do like a Civil Gore radio drama, where we take like either a film or something like that, and just we do all the characters and stuff, but do it
and
like
the
in
sound
a radio
effects.
drama.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Wouldn't that be
a
a
lot
fun
of fun
thing to do?
Yeah. If you guys have any suggestions for what we could turn into a radio drama that you'd like to hear, like preferably like a short story or some kind of horror theme thing, or a movie or something, I don't know, however you want to do it. But if you have any suggestions, send them in. That'd be cool.
Yeah, because it could be something that hasn't been done either in a movie form. Just be a short story that you like, and like that. Because I think a short story would probably lend itself better for our first attempt at this.
Yeah,
but
and we would try to make it serious. We won't have Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh yeah, no, it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be a sketch. It will be like a legit attempt at, even if we even call in some friends here to help us out, to get some good voices down. I think that would be a fun treat, because that was what we've always talked about. We always talk about trying to, because yes, that we have a set format in this show, but we always like to improve on it and tweak it and keep it fresh. Yeah. And so, it's like it was great. Like visiting the Horror Con gave us content that was a great, episode that we've never done before. We've done Tim went to this con and it's a little first chap segment, and Brian went to this con. But the fact that we both got there, we got to retell it in a whole store. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think we need to do this.
Plus, it keeps it fun for us too.
Yeah,
doing the same thing every week. Yeah.
Right. And look, we got a suggestion from Cody that she requested a commentary track for that movie Velocipaster. Which is just, she was so dead on. She goes, "This is perfect for you guys to do." And we're like, yeah, I think we have to agree to that.
That's gotta happen.
Yeah, that will happen. So Cody, you're getting your wish. If anyone deserves a wish out there, and
it's Cody. She's so loyal.
It's Cody, yes. So Cody, you will get that wish. We already decided it's happening. We don't know when we're gonna stick it into the rotation, but it will be there.
All right, well, let's get to our beer pairing, which is phenomenal this week, Brian. So tell us all about this one.
Yeah, so this one, and if you look at the can art, I got to get a picture. I think I sent it to you. I got to post it on Instagram. It's called Wandering into the Fog, which, what better, seriously, what better for this week, right? Yeah. And it's Abomination Brewing Company. That's 8.6% ABV. And so here's the description. And based on the description, it kind of fits to the theme, where it says, brewed with a heavy wheat and oat malt bill, hopped and double dry hopped aggressively with 7+ pounds per BBL of Mosaic, Pacific Jade, that's Pacific, there's the California connection there, Citra, Summit, and a ton of Galaxy. It says fluffy, pillowy, juicy, dank, double dry hopped goodness.
Ooh.
So that sounds like a great beer. And you got the fluffy and the pillowy, which, that might describe Adrian Barbeau's voice, a little bit. The dank, because it's a dank fog. So
Yeah.
come on, you got it all.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, this one may be one of our really right up there in terms of good beer pairings for
Where it's just not the name; it's the whole description.
Yeah, it's the description and everything. And I do look at that. I do keep that into consideration. I mean, obviously, I look for the trigger of the name, but
And 8.6%. You probably feel pretty foggy after down on a couple.
Yeah,
of those,
yeah,
so.
that'll get you a little foggy. You'll be ready to lay down, relaxing and listening to Adrienne Barbeau's voice take you away to a nice slumberland.
You just want to pick her up and hug her. She's just like so little.
You kind of did. You gave her a hug. You kind of put it right in a pose. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was sweet. What a sweet lady.
Very, very sweet. Okay, so our triple threat last week, 2 weeks ago now, I guess, was kind of a softball. This was kind of an easy one.
We got called out by our friend Paul there. He said, "Come on, guys."
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was like. But we
I
promised
knew he would get it.
We promised a little bit harder one this next time.
Oh, this next one I think could be a little tricky.
Yeah. So we're looking for a film. We said clue number 1: 2 actors from this film also both appeared in Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. Clue number 2: this first film was the first film to win an Academy Award in a specific category, and it was the first year of that category's creation. And clue number 3, which was the giveaway. The director and crew of this film went on also to be behind one of the most famous music videos of all time. That video, of course, was Thriller. Frank Oz and Michael Carter were the 2 actors that had appeared in Star Wars. Frank Oz was Yoda, of course, and Michael Carter played Bib Fortuna in Return of the Jedi.
Well, I actually got to meet Michael Carter. Very, very pleasant man.
Oh, really? Yeah, Bib Fortuna was one of my scary characters I was most scared of in.
That's so funny. He's such a nice guy in real life.
I know.
I think I have his signed Bib Fortuna action figure from him. Actually, I think I got that signed when we saw it. Was at they used to have these Man Behind the Mask Star Wars conventions where it'd be basically all the characters that were in costume would be at this convention. Like that's where we met Peter Mayhew, and he disappointed us drastically by being kind of mean. We met our Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker. Anthony Daniels was as awesome as you see him as. He was like one of the coolest guys. Jeremy Bullock, David Prowse. I mean, you name it. Every Star Wars character you can find in a mask or costume was there. It was great.
So the Best Makeup Academy Award was the Academy Award we were looking for. It was 1981. It's the first year that category was given out. And the video we were looking for was Thriller, of course, directed by John Landis. If you haven't guessed by now, the movie is An American Werewolf in London.
Yes. And we got 3 correct answers this week. That's the most we've gotten,
It's probably most, because that was our easiest. Probably one of our easiest. But
so that was Paul, Cody, and Johnny got those.
Yeah, good job, guys. So this week, we're going to make it a little tougher on you.
Yes.
We are looking for
It's definitely gettable, though. It's not that ridiculous.
No, it's not impossible.
Not going to get it, but...
And again, clue number 3 is probably your best bet at getting this one, figuring this one out.
Yes,
but,
I agree.
We're looking for a fictional character. The actor who played me played another character that also liked to hang around a specific area. Clue number 2, I have been portrayed by 2 different actors. One was a man, and the other was a woman. And clue number 3, a curse, a fire, and a sharp object all lead to my current state.
Yes. So once again, I think that third one is the money one. So you may want to work backwards from there and see what you can come up with.
So that's a good one. So, yeah, guys, another fun episode. Sorry for my occasional coughing, because I'm not going to do much editing on this episode. Again, we recorded later in the week due to the...
But it was for a good cause. It was a
very
great
good cause.
Reason.
Great reason.
You guys short.
Yeah, you guys will find out soon enough why that was. We had something else going on Monday, but be sure to get your reviews in on iTunes. We're still going to hold that contest. Probably, I think episode 100 is probably going to be the cutoff. Where we start picking a winner, and I'm telling you, some really good stuff in this prize pack. Some incredible posters. I think, Brian, we probably need to start posting these on Instagram.
Yeah, you know what? Let's make a deal with everyone. We're going to start over the weekend. We'll start releasing little bits of it, so you can kind of see what your chance to win is.
Yeah, and your chances are really good right now. Just leave us a written review on iTunes, And anybody who leaves us a review will be entered into that drawing to win that prize pack. And it's going to have some really awesome stuff, I guarantee you. And that helps the show get the word out, and helps us get noticed. So that helps.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny too, because I know we have so many people that follow us on social media and interact with us, and but we're not getting the reviews to match that. So it's like, and I get it. It's it's a whole nother process. You got to go in, sign in, write something. But even if you just write like, hey, Tim's awesome, but boot Brian, his voice sucks. Anything.
Just post, I want to win the stupid prize pack. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, well, and listen, if you guys haven't figured out, Tim and I appreciate funny stuff. So even if you write like a hilarious review, but make it 5 stars, but say, oh, these goofballs or anything, you know what? If we haven't given the relaxed atmosphere yet, then we failed for 3 straight years. I'll tell you,
exactly.
That's what we try and go for.
Yeah. But you guys can reach us on Gmail, civilgorepodcast@gmail.com, on Facebook, on Twitter. I like how British people say Twitter.
Yeah, I know. I love how Twitter got British there.
Yeah, Twitter and Instagram. And reach out, because we're very active on social media. So if you guys want to interact and talk with us anytime or ask any questions, we'll respond almost immediately.
Yeah, we're pretty on it, because that's, to me, that's one of the most important things. I mean, we do it for fun, but we love to interact with people, and I'm always, it's fun to have conversations, especially with the horror community, and the people that interact with us already. Like, I wish we should almost pull them on the show and just say, let them know, they could let you know how fun it is, because we always will do our best to engage right back as fast as possible to, because it's fun to discuss horror, and it's like, plus Tim and I get tired of just talking to each other about it.
I know.
I like to get other people in there,
Yeah. So, guys, we'll see you back next week, barring any unforeseen Manitou attacks on Brian's computer.
Well, the good thing is my computer should be back by next week, but this one, I got it working in good order, believe it or not. This is like I basically used up every cachet of computer skill in this wipe and reboot, because it seems to be working pretty good now. Oh, and we actually, we basically figured out a good way to do some other bonus content things, which again is a little hint at what we got coming there for you. And we're working on some other surprises, so...
Yeah.
So stay tuned. This is getting exciting for Civil War more than ever. So
yeah. So we'll see you next week, and look for the fog.
Whoa.